Commander Lee Miho pressed his face against the cold glass of the observation deck. Below him, the farming fields of New Kepler stretched like a green carpet under two yellow suns. 47 years had passed since humans first met aliens from space. Now humans lived on many worlds across the galaxy. The Galactic Confederation had welcomed Earth's people. They called humans new friends and gave them planets on the edge of space to live on, far from important worlds, but safe and peaceful. Miho liked it that way. His people could grow food, build cities, and raise children under alien stars. "Sir, we should get a message from Earth today," said Park Sora from her computer station. She was young, maybe 25, with bright eyes that always smiled when ships came from home. Miho nodded. Every week, messages traveled between the human worlds. Earth, New Sol, New Busan, Terra Prime, 37 planets where humans had built new lives. 15 billion people who had left their crowded home planet for endless space and fresh air. "The big communication dish is ready," Sora said. "Message should come through any minute now." Minutes passed, then hours. The message never came. Miho felt something cold touch his stomach. In 47 years, the weekly messages had never been late. Not once. "Sora, check our equipment. Maybe something is broken." Her fingers moved fast across the controls. Green lights blinked. Numbers showed everything worked perfectly. "All good here, sir. But I'm not hearing anything from the inner colonies. Not even the emergency beacons that run all the time." By evening, the cold feeling in Miho's stomach had become ice. He called the other commanders on the 6 remaining outer colonies. The same story everywhere. No messages, no signals, no sounds at all from the 37 human worlds near the center of the galaxy. Captain Nam Jahun's voice crackled over the long-distance radio. "My ships were supposed to meet a supply convoy from New Sol yesterday. They never showed up. No message, no delay notice, nothing." "Same here," reported Colonel Yang Minji from a mining world of far reach. "We sent 3 calls to Earth asking about our missing supply shipment. Not even an automatic reply." The human colonies had become islands in space. 7 small worlds on the galaxy's edge, suddenly cut off from everyone they loved. 3 days later, communication specialist Choi Yuna brought Miho a data crystal she had stolen from a passing Confederation courier ship. Her hands shook as she handed it to him. "Sir, you need to see this. It's bad." Miho put the crystal into the computer. Alien writing filled the screen. Most of it made no sense, but some words stood out like daggers. Cleansing protocol. Contamination removal. Stellar collapse initiated. His blood turned to water. Stellar collapse meant making stars explode. But why would anyone want to destroy stars? "There's more," Yuna whispered. She pointed to a list of numbers and names. 37 entries. Each one matched a human colony world. The last entry made Miho sit down hard in his chair. Sol system, Earth status, cleansing complete. For a long moment, he could not breathe, could not think. The room spun around him like he was falling. "Sir," Sora's voice seemed to come from very far away. "What does it mean?" Miho stared at the screen. His wife had been visiting her sister on Earth. His 2 children lived on New Sol, going to school and play with their friends. 15 billion humans, living normal lives, raising families, building futures. All gone, wiped away like dust. "It means," he said slowly, "that we are the last humans in the galaxy, and we don't even know why." Over the next week, more stolen data crystals arrived from other colonies. The picture became clear and horrible. The Galactic Confederation Council had met in secret. They had decided that humans were dangerous. Too many babies. Too much growth. Too quick to learn new technology. A threat to the careful balance the aliens had built over thousands of years. So they had decided to fix the problem. All of it. Forever. The gravitational weapons had been quick. 37 stars collapsed into black holes in a single day. No time for messages. No time for escape. No time to say goodbye. Miho stood again at the observation deck, but now the peaceful farming world below looked different, like a prison. like a forgotten corner where the executioners had not bothered to look. 2 million humans remained alive in the galaxy, scattered across 7 small worlds that were too far away, too unimportant for anyone to remember they existed. The aliens thought they had solved their human problem. They had killed 15 billion people and celebrated their success. But they had made one mistake. They had left witnesses. They had left survivors. And now those survivors knew the truth about their place in the galaxy. They were not welcome guests. They were not junior partners. They were the children of a murdered world, alone in the dark between stars. In the months that followed, the 7 colonies began to talk to each other in secret. They shared resources. They planned. They prepared. The Galactic Confederation had no idea what they had just created. The stolen data crystal sat in the middle of the metal table, like a bomb waiting to explode. Leaders from all 7 surviving human colonies had traveled through dangerous space to reach this secret meeting aboard the ship New Dawn. They needed to hear the truth together, even if that truth would destroy everything they thought they knew. Admiral Kim Tae-yoon looked around the room at faces he had known for decades. These people had been farmers, teachers, miners, and shop owners just 2 weeks ago. Now they were the government of the last humans in the galaxy. The weight of that knowledge pressed down on all of them like a heavy blanket. "Before I show you this," Kim said, holding up the crystal, "I want you to know that after today, we can never go back to the people we were before. Some knowledge changes you forever." He put the crystal into the computer. The Galactic Confederation seal appeared above the table, the same symbol that had welcomed humanity to the stars 47 years ago. Now it looked like the mark of an executioner. The document that appeared was written in cold, official language, but its meaning hit the room like a physical blow. Internal Confederation Memorandum 7429 Omega, Kim read aloud. Subject: Final resolution of human contamination crisis. Colony leader Yang Minji from New Gangnam covered her mouth with her hand. Her 3 children had been visiting Earth when the silence fell. "Contamination crisis?" she whispered. "They called us contamination?" Intelligence Officer Choi Yuna, who had risked her life to steal the document, continued reading. The species designated as human shows dangerous expansion patterns. Birth rates exceed safe galactic parameters by 340%. Technological adaptation occurs too quickly for proper monitoring. Military potential assessment shows unacceptable risk levels. Captain Nam Jahun slammed his fist on the table. "They studied us. They watched us for 47 years and decided we were too dangerous to live." The document continued with the terrible details. The Confederation Council had voted in secret. Not one voice had spoken for humanity. Not one alien had said that 15 billion innocent people deserved to live. The solution they chose, Kim said, his voice getting quieter, was something they called Cleansing Protocol Omega. More files appeared on the screen. Technical drawings of weapons that could make stars collapse. Mission reports from Confederation military units. Timetables that showed the exact moment each human world had died. Earth's sun was the first to collapse. Una read from another file. 0347 Galactic Standard Time. Estimated human casualties, 8.2 billion. Estimated survival time after stellar collapse, 0. The room fell completely silent. Every person there had family on Earth. Parents, children, friends who had stayed on the home world, while others went to stars. All of them dead in an instant, killed by aliens who had smiled and called them friends. New Seoul was next, Una continued. Then New Busan, Terra Prime, Haven Colony. Her voice broke as she read the list of murdered worlds. Each name was a knife in the hearts of everyone listening. Colony Administrator Park Jimin spoke for the first time. "My daughter was on New Seoul. She was studying to be a doctor. She wanted to help people. Tears ran down her face. She was going to come home next month. All our children," said Mining Chief O'Sungman. "All our parents, our brothers and sisters, gone." The final part of the document was the worst. It showed that the Confederation leaders knew about the 7 outer colonies. They had planned to destroy those worlds too, but had decided to wait. The outer colonies were so small and far away that they could be cleaned up later when it was convenient. They left us alive by accident, Kim said. We only exist because we weren't important enough to kill right away. The data crystal also contained recordings from Confederation Council meeting. Alien voices discussing human extinction, like they were talking about removing weeds from a garden. The human breeding pattern threatens resource stability across 17 sectors, one voice said. Their expansion rate is unsustainable. Agreed, said another. Better to act now before they spread further. Quick, clean, final. The gravitational weapons will ensure complete sterilization. No survivors, no refugee problem, no messy cleanup. They had planned it all. They had killed 15 billion people and felt good about it. They thought they were heroes saving the galaxy from a dangerous species. In the silence after the recordings ended, something changed in that room. The grief was still there, but now it mixed with something much colder, much more dangerous. So, said Captain Nam quietly, we are the last humans. 2 million people scattered across 7 forgotten worlds. The aliens think their human problem is solved. They're wrong, said Admiral Kim, and his voice now carried a hardness that had not been there an hour ago. They didn't solve the human problem. They created it. Colonel Myeji, the youngest person in the room at 28, looked up from the data files. What do we do now? Kim looked around the table at the faces of people who had lost everything. Friends who had become the accidental government of a murdered species. Now, he said, we decide what happens to the people who killed our world. Outside the ship, space looked the same as always. But inside that room, humanity had just learned what it really meant to be alone in a hostile galaxy. The innocence of 47 years was gone forever, burned away by the truth of what their alien friends had really thought of them. The survivors of Earth had work to do. 15 years had passed since the day the messages stopped coming from Earth. The hidden fleet drifted in the empty space between star systems, invisible in the cosmic darkness. What had once been refugee ships carrying families and farmers had become something the galaxy had never seen before. Admiral Kim Tae-young stood in the command center of the Vengeance, humanity's first real warship. His hair was now gray, and his eyes held a coldness that frightened even his closest friends. Around him, displays showed the locations of human agents scattered across the galaxy like invisible seeds of revenge. Report from the spy teams said Commander Park Sora. She was no longer the bright young woman who had smiled at messages from home. 15 years of planning for war had changed all of them into something harder. Agent Lee Dammy is now working inside the Confederation Defense Ministry. She has been there for 3 years. They trust her completely. She has stolen the complete schedules for all their military ships for the next year. Kim nodded. Across the galaxy, hundreds of humans lived secret lives on alien worlds. They had learned alien languages perfectly. They had alien friends. Some had even changed their faces with surgery to look more like the species they lived among. The aliens thought all humans were dead, which made them perfect spies. Agent Shin Woo-bin has made contact with the Zephyrian rebels. Sora continued. They hate the Confederation, too. They are willing to help us if we give them better weapons. In the 15 years since the genocide, the human survivors had discovered something important. The Confederation had enemies, species that had been conquered or threatened, rebels who remembered when their worlds had been free. All of them hated the same government that had murdered Earth. What about our new weapons? Kim asked. Chief Engineer Johanna looked up from her workstation. Her hands were stained with machine oil, and her eyes were red from lack of sleep. The gravitational bombs are ready. We can collapse a star just like they did to ours. The quantum torpedoes are even better than we hoped. Confederation shields cannot even see them until they explode. Every human who had survived the genocide had become a soldier. Children who should have been playing in schoolyards instead learned to build bombs in hidden asteroid bases. Teenagers who might have become artists or writers now studied how to kill efficiently and quietly. The 7 original colonies no longer existed. The humans had abandoned their farms and cities, taking everything useful and disappearing into the void between stars. They lived on ships now, always moving, never staying in one place long enough to be found. Sir, interrupted Captain O. Sungman from the weapons station, Long-range scouts confirmed the intelligence about the Millennium Peace Celebration. All the Confederation leaders will be gathered on Centralis Prime in 3 months. Every council member, every military commander, every bureaucrat who signed the death orders. Kim smiled, but it was not a happy expression. It was the smile of a predator who had finally cornered his prey after a very long hunt. 15 years of preparation, he said. 2 million ghosts building weapons and gathering intelligence for one perfect moment. He activated the ship's communication system, so his words would reach every human vessel in the hidden fleet. Hundreds of ships scattered across dozens of systems, all filled with the children and grandchildren of murdered worlds. My fellow survivors, Kim's voice carried to families living in converted cargo holds and engineers working in secret weapon factories. The aliens tried to exterminate us because they were afraid of what humanity might become. They were right to be afraid. On the mining ship Eternal Fury, 12-year-old Park Minji stopped her lessons about making explosives to listen. She had been born after Earth died, but she knew the stories. She knew why her people lived in hiding. They made one mistake, Kim continued. They failed to finish the job. That failure will be the last mistake their civilization ever makes. Agent Lee Dammy, working late in her office in the Confederation Defense Ministry, received a coded message through her secret communication device. Around her, alien co-workers planned for their peaceful celebration, never knowing that one of their most trusted employees was counting down the days until their government died. On distant worlds, other human agents checked their hidden weapons and reviewed their targets. Some had spent 10 years becoming the perfect alien citizen. Others had married aliens and had children who looked nothing like humans. All of them remembered why they were there. The Confederation celebrated 1,000 years without major war. They believed their careful management of the galaxy had created permanent peace. They pointed to the human solution as proof that difficult decisions could prevent future conflicts. They had no idea that the solution to their human problem was living among them, working beside them, learning their secrets and counting their weaknesses. In the darkness between stars, the children of murdered Earth continued their grim work. Every day brought new intelligence about Confederation defenses. Every week brought new weapons capable of destroying entire star systems. Every month brought them closer to the moment when the galaxy would remember what war actually looked like. The aliens had taught humanity an important lesson. Some threats must be eliminated completely. Now the students were ready to show their teachers how well they had learned. The Millennium Peace Celebration would become the funeral of the Galactic Confederation, and the ghosts of 15 billion dead humans would finally have their revenge. The crystal towers of Centralis Prime sparkled like jewels under the light of twin suns. Beings from 1,000 different worlds had come to celebrate the greatest achievement in galactic history, 1,000 years without a major war. The streets were filled with aliens of every shape and size, all happy and proud of their peaceful civilization. In the Grand Assembly building, Chancellor Vex Moran stepped up to speak to the crowd. His words would be broadcast to every world in Confederation space. Today we celebrate 1,000 years since the last Great War ended. We have shown that wisdom and careful decisions can create lasting peace. In the audience, Agent Lee Dammy checked her watch and smiled. She had worked in the Confederation government for 12 years. Her alien co-workers trusted her completely. They had no idea she was human, or that in 15 minutes their 1,000 years of peace would end forever. Across Centralis Prime, other government workers and citizens checked similar devices. They looked like normal aliens going about their daily work. But they were human agents who had spent over a decade becoming perfect Confederation citizens. They had learned alien languages, married aliens, even changed their appearance with surgery. At exactly 1447 Galactic Standard Time, the celebration became a massacre. The first explosions came from space. Quantum torpedoes appeared inside the orbital defense stations like ghosts materializing from nothing. The stations, built to stop attacks from outside, crumbled as weapons detonated within their own shield barriers. On the planet below, gravitational bombs exploded at the same moment in 57 different locations. Government buildings that had stood for centuries collapsed in seconds. The beautiful crystal towers that were symbols of Confederation power fell like broken glass. But Centralis Prime was only the beginning. Across 50 worlds, human strike teams emerged from years of hiding to carry out the most coordinated attack in galactic history. Fleet Admiral Kong Sujin led her ships against the Confederation Naval Academy. Her vessels appeared from nowhere, using stealth technology the aliens did not know existed, and destroyed the school where future enemy officers were trained. Colonel Imyeji's team seized control of communication networks on 12 core worlds at exactly the same time. Every screen in Confederation space suddenly showed the same image, a human face that was supposed to be extinct. Admiral Kim Taeyong appeared on every television, every computer, every communication device in the galaxy. He looked older now, with scars on his face and eyes that held the weight of 15 billion dead. Behind him, explosions lit up the sky as human forces struck with surgical precision. "I am Admiral Kim Taeyong of the Human Remnant Fleet," he said in a voice that was calm but terrifying. 15 years ago, you declared our species extinct. You were partially correct. The humans you knew are dead. We are what you created when you murdered our children. On Centralis Prime, Chancellor Vex Moran stared at the screen in horror. Around him, his government was being destroyed by enemies that were supposed to not exist. "Impossible," he whispered. "We killed them all. You told yourselves you committed genocide to preserve peace." Kim continued as more explosions shook the capital world. "Today you learn the price of that peace. We are humanity unchained from the moral rules that once limited us. We have spent 15 years preparing for this moment. The attacks were surgical and brutal. Human forces targeted government leaders, military bases, and communication centers, while leaving civilian populations mostly unharmed. They knew exactly where to strike for maximum damage because they had been living among their enemies for over a decade. "We have a list," Kim announced, and names began scrolling across every screen in the galaxy. Every being who planned, ordered, or carried out the murder of our worlds. We will not negotiate with these individuals. We will not accept their surrender. Justice for 15 billion dead does not include mercy for killers. Agent Lee Dammy stood in the burning remains of the Defense Ministry, watching her alien co-workers run in panic. She felt no joy in their fear, only the cold satisfaction of a job well done. Her real family had died with Earth, but she had spent 12 years pretending these aliens were her friends. Now the pretending was over. On the military world of Zirian Prime, Captain Park Jimin led her assault team through the corridors of the Central Command bunker. The alien officers had thought their underground base was impossible to attack. They had not planned for enemies who had been working inside their own security forces for years. "Please," begged an alien general as Park's soldiers surrounded him. "We can negotiate. We can find a peaceful solution." Park looked at the creature who had helped plan the destruction of New Seoul, where her daughter had been studying medicine. "You had 47 years to find a peaceful solution," she said quietly. "You chose genocide instead. In 12 hours, the Confederation's 1,000-year peace died along with most of its leadership. Surrender messages poured in from worlds across the galaxy as news spread of humanity's return from the dead. But the humans were not interested in surrender from everyone. The list of names continued to scroll across every screen. Politicians, military officers, bureaucrats who had filed the paperwork for human extinction. For these individuals, no surrender would be accepted. The galaxy had awakened to find that its greatest nightmare had come true. The species they had tried to exterminate had returned, and they were no longer bound by the gentle morality that had once made them seem harmless. The children of murdered Earth had kept their promise. They had remembered their 15 billion dead, and now the killing could finally begin. 6 months had passed since the day humanity emerged from the darkness. The ruins of Centralis Prime still smoked as Admiral Kim Taeyong walked through what had once been the Grand Assembly building. Confederation worlds had surrendered one after another once word spread that humans were alive and very angry. But this world, the heart of the government that had murdered Earth, would never surrender to anyone again. Former Chancellor Vex Moran knelt in chains before a black metal wall. The humans had built it from the melted remains of the Confederation Council chambers. 15 billion names were carved into its surface. Every human life lost in the genocide. The wall stretched for kilometers. each name a reminder what the Confederation had destroyed. "You have won," the alien leader whispered. His proud voice was now broken and weak. "Your species has proven stronger. We give up completely. Surely you can show mercy now, as humans once did long ago." Admiral Kim stared at the creature that had signed the death order for his homeworld. Around them, construction sounds echoed as human work teams rebuilt Centralis Prime as the capital of their new empire. The crystal towers were gone, replaced by simple metal buildings that looked like military bases. "Mercy." Kim's voice was cold as space itself. "My daughter was 7 years old when you collapsed Earth's sun. Her name was Kim Sori. She liked to draw pictures of flowers and wanted to be a teacher when she grew up." He pointed at the memorial wall. "She is number 7,394,857,223 on that list. Look at her name and tell me about Mercy." Fleet Admiral Park Jimin approached with a report pad in her hand. "The last enemy military units on Zirian 4 have been destroyed. General Han Seojun reports the orbital bombing was complete and thorough. We have also found the final 3 members of the original Genocide Planning Committee. They were hiding in the outer veil systems." "No survivors from a planning committee," Kim ordered without any emotion in his voice. They wanted to show the galaxy that some threats must be eliminated completely. We learned that lesson very well. Across the galaxy, humanity's new empire grew with frightening speed. Species that surrendered quickly found themselves under harsh occupation, but they lived. Those that helped plan or carry out the genocide faced complete destruction. Not just their armies, but their governments, their institutions, every structure that had made the murder of 15 billion humans possible. The human leaders felt no happiness in their victory. They took no pleasure in the fear they saw in alien eyes. But they knew this was necessary to make sure no one would ever try to kill all humans again. Commander Yoon Jae-won, now military governor of the conquered Andraxian sector, broadcast a message to the remaining free worlds. "We did not choose this path. You forced us onto it when you tried to wipe us out completely. Now you face the results of that choice. Surrender immediately or join the Confederation in death." Many worlds chose surrender. The Zephyrians, who had helped humanity during the underground years, were given their freedom and better technology. Species that had opposed the genocide were treated fairly. But for those who had supported the murder of Earth, there would be no forgiveness. Kim turned back to the kneeling chancellor. "You believe that peace required the elimination of dangerous species. We agree with that idea. The difference is we know which species was truly dangerous all along." Behind them, human technicians finished installing gravitational charges around Centralis Prime Sun. The same weapon that killed Earth would now kill the homeworld of humanity's executioners. "You cannot do this," Vex Moran pleaded. "There are innocent civilians on this world. Children who had nothing to do with your people's death. Were there innocent civilians on Earth?" Kim asked quietly. "Children who had nothing to do with galactic politics? You killed them all anyway." He gestured to evacuation ships in the sky. "We are taking everyone who opposed the genocide to safety. Everyone who supported it stays here." The gravitational charges detonated at the exact same time. Centralis Prime Sun began to collapse just as Earth's sun had 21 years ago. The planet had 6 hours before the stellar explosion would sterilize everything. Standing on the bridge of the Vengeance as the Centralis system died behind them, Admiral Kim watched the star collapse with cold satisfaction. They had avenged their 15 billion dead, but the cost had been terrible. The gentle humans who had once reached the stars with hope and wonder were gone forever. "Sir," reported Communications Officer Park Sora, "surrender messages are coming in from 47 worlds. They want to negotiate terms." "Standard terms for non-genocidal species," Kim replied. "Occupation government, resource tribute, complete disarmament. Anyone who participated in planning or carrying out genocide against humans will be executed." The galaxy now knew what happened when someone tried to destroy humanity completely. They faced the survivors unchained from mercy, morality, and the gentle nature that had once made humans seem harmless. The peace that followed was not the peace of friendship, but the peace of the graveyard, enforced by the ghosts of a murdered world. The human species had survived, but what they had become would haunt the galaxy forever. They had learned the Confederation's lesson too well. When facing a threat to your people's existence, you must be willing to become the monster. The stars now belonged to humanity, and the 15 billion dead could finally rest in peace.